There are so many major issues facing the world at large, so often seemingly smaller problems are overlooked. Human issues that affect a smaller population, for example, issues that many of us might not even know about. But thankfully, there are ordinary people who are thinking about these things and working to make their communities a more equitable place for all. And here on Velshi, we've started featuring some of these folks whose small acts of courage have gone a long way. When you think of poverty, what comes to mind? Maybe homelessness, food insecurity, a lack of health care. But many people who experience poverty also struggle to pay for basic needs, including basic hygiene needs. And if you're a person who menstruates, you're also having to come up with money to pay for period products every month. Ever heard of the pink tax? On average, a person who needs them spends $240 per year on period products than someone who doesn't, according to the National Organization for Women. Now imagine getting your period every month and not having the money to buy these period products or not having reliable access to a bathroom. One study published in the medical journal Obstetrics and Gynecology found that roughly 1 in 5 people, 21%, cannot afford period products every month. This plight has become known as period poverty. There are serious health risks that come with period poverty. Those who can't afford products like tampons or pads often resort to unsanitary methods, like scraps of cardboard or old socks. Sometimes they're forced to miss school or work. It's a problem that's under-discussed, partly because it only affects a portion of the population, but also because of the stigma about talking about periods. When COVID hit in 2020, Carrington Baker, then a junior at St. John's University in Queens, New York, spent her free time volunteering at local food pantries and researching poverty in her community. Carrington soon realized that the people being served by the shelters, people who did not have enough money for food, probably couldn't buy period products either. So she and some of her friends used their own money to stock up on pads and tampons and began distributing them at food pantries and shelters. Carrington was right. There was a strong and direct correlation between food insecurity and period poverty. The demand was high, and she realized that she needed to find a way to get a lot more products. Carrington has now transformed this group of friends into a volunteer-led nonprofit called For Women, By Women, period. Get it? The organization is made up mostly of her friends, her sister, and her mom. They're a small group, but their small acts of courage are making a big difference. Joining me now is Carrington Baker, founder and CEO of For Women, By Women, period, starting with an excellent name for the organization. Carrington, welcome. Thank you for doing this. I want to just move ahead in the story. Once you gathered an original stash of products, you and your friends used your own money that in theory should be going to your life to buy these period products. Then what happened once you ran through that?
So I honestly started reaching out to different menstrual hygiene companies, just seeing if we could just find an organization a company that would support us. I used LinkedIn, just contacting their operations directors, and I got very lucky. And this video is actually us receiving our first big product donation from Cora, an amazing company that gives back to those in need that experience period poverty. And we got 300 and something thousand products from them. And it filled 3 storage units, which we have distributed majority of that at this point. And this was back in 2022 when we received those products.
How did you figure out there was a need for this? I mean, obviously you were at food shelters, and if people were showing up there, clearly they didn't have the money to buy their basics. So was that just intuitive to you that if they can't buy soup, then they may not be able to afford period products?
Honestly, it was not at first. I ended up coming across a YouTube video, and it really explained homelessness and periods in New York City. And that's where, of course, living in New York City, seeing people homeless, never thinking about menstrual hygiene products, even though I'm a woman who menstruates myself. And once I came across it, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes a lot of sense. Of course they need this. They're not able to get just food, and menstrual hygiene products are very expensive. So at that point, I was like, I want to do something no matter how big or small, and I just wanted to give back in any possible way, just honestly within the Queens community at first. And then from there, that need just kept growing. We kept hearing companies, organizations reaching out to us, asking if we had products to distribute. And that's when we really realized there is there's an area for this that we can help, and we're going to do it.
You also lead workshops about menstruation equity. What does that mean?
Menstrual equity has a lot into it. Of course, period poverty is involved, but even just making sure that we're giving that proper education as well for menstruation and making sure there's that equal access in all public spaces. Even just people who are able to purchase products, they should still be able to access menstrual products in a public space like a library or even airports or just big businesses and even grocery stores. So menstrual equity really is fighting for that in the law space. And what they do is they're trying to get laws passed to make menstrual products free. In the United States, Congresswoman Grace Meng is one of the congresswomen in New York City that is working on that. And she's an amazing woman that I've been able to speak with. And she's working on getting those laws passed so that people have equal access regardless of their financial situation.
And are things changing? I mean, other than the fact that you said you're willing to do anything small or big, and that's the beauty of the whole thing. You weren't worrying about the big picture. You were doing what you could. But are things getting fairer for women?
Yeah, yes and no. I would say a little bit ahead than the United States right now, but they're working on it. I would say there's a lot of organizations like mine that are doing the work that we do in different parts of the United States that are really contributing to ending that period poverty in different communities. But there's a lot of pushback still at the end of the day from Congress with passing those laws and finding a way to make it accessible for all. And I feel like that's something that Congresswoman Grace Meng is really working on, to get those laws passed to make it fair for everyone, but it's not an easy process at all.
Carrington, fantastic that you're doing it. Fantastic that you're doing it for all the right reasons, and fantastic that ultimately you may move the needle for a lot of people who didn't even know this was a problem. Carrington Baker is the founder and CEO for Women by Women, period.